Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the source material you provide and, well, really dig into it. We pull out the most interesting bits, the insights, all to help you get informed fast.
Yeah, think of us as your guides, basically. We're here to point out the surprising stuff and connect the dots you might have missed otherwise.
And today, we are getting into a really fascinating transcript you sent over. It's from the Airwolf wiki, covering an episode called Mind of the Machine.
And our mission here, really, is to unpack what this source tells us about simulation technology. You know, how real can it get? But also, what are its limits?
Exactly.
Yep.
And we'll explore that tricky relationship between, unique human skill and these super smart machines. Plus, the huge risks when advanced tech might fall into the wrong hands.
We're going to see a simulator that's pushing the boundaries, definitely. But we also get into human ego betrayal.
Yeah, and how sometimes, even with all the tech, it comes down to, well, basic skills. Back to basics.
And we'll meet the key players from the source, Stringfellow Hawke, Dominic Santini, Archangel, and Morella from the firm.
All right, the secret agency.
Yeah. And then there's Dr. Robert Winchester, a woman named Diana. Her identity gets important later. And this dangerous guy, Alexei Provov.
Okay, so let's dive in. The source throws us right into the action, inside this Airwolf simulator. Dominic Santini's in there first, and his reaction tells you a lot.
Oh, absolutely. It's first described kind of dismissively like an overgrown video machine. But Dominic, he's blown away. He calls it amazing. Says, you just sit in there and you swear it's the real thing.
So that level of immersion, that feeling of reality, that's the first big takeaway. They've clearly poured resources into making this thing feel real.
But here's where it gets really interesting. You know, the whole simulation versus reality thing. Stringfellow Hawke gets in the guy who knows the real Airwolf inside and out. And his take, totally different.
Yeah, complete opposite of Dominic's amazement. Hawke's immediately critical, finds it awful mushy, complains about too much yaw.
That side-to-side wiggle?
Right, says he has to muscle it. And he's convinced, absolutely convinced, the real Airwolf would have made it where the sim crashed.
And that's not just him being picky, right? It shows a fundamental gap. What feels real enough to Dom, who flies with Hawks but isn't the pilot.
It's just wrong to the expert. The one with that deep intuitive feel for the actual machine. It suggests simulation can copy the mechanics, maybe, but not that subtle feel, that real-world edge.
Exactly. And we get a peek at the tech, too. Diana and Morella mention it's run from terminals, uses graphics way beyond the old stuff, like cave drawings, they say.
Wow.
And they have a whole library of other aircraft sims, and they can actually see what's happening inside the cockpit simulator. It's complex stuff.
But still, Hawke's instinct cuts right through it, spots the limits immediately.
So, okay, why is the film doing all this? It's not just for kicks, obviously.
No, definitely not. Archangel and Morella lay it out for Hawke. They need a computer-perfect profile, not just of Airwolf, the machine.
But crucially, of how Stringfellow Hawke in his prime flies Airwolf. They want to capture his unique skills, his moves, his reactions under pressure.
And the reason they give is pretty stark. There's no backup pilot for Airwolf. It's too dangerous to train someone in the real thing.
Right. So what happens if Hawke's skills start to fade? If he starts eroding, as they put it? It's about continuity, capturing this unique asset.
They use an analogy that kind of grounds it, saying it's like how Major League Baseball teams profile the perfect swing.
Yeah. Dominic even jokes about Pete Rose, shows it's a concept people, get.
And that baseball thing is a good point. I mean, profiling a swing is complex. Sure, stance, speed, contact.
But it's one controlled action.
Exactly. Profiling Hawke, someone reacting instantly to chaos, to threats you can't predict. That's a whole other level of complexity for the firm. They're not just copying a technique. They're trying to capture instinct, decision-making under fire.
Yeah, it's a huge ask. And despite the need, Hawke's pushing back. He doesn't want the firm getting its hands on Airwolf. Or maybe more like his unique bond with Airwolf.
Archangel has to give ground, right?
Yeah.
Promises Hawke he can fly it away every night, hide it wherever.
Which just shows how much they rely on Hawke and how fragile that trust always is.
This whole project really highlights different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Especially Dom versus Hawke. Dominic is genuinely psyched.
Totally. He's looking forward to this, thinks it's for the next generation. He really seems to love the idea.
He even pictures future pilots training against their profiles, chasing our smoke. He sees the legacy potential.
But then the source gives us this moment with Hawke, kind of vulnerable, despite trash-talking the simulator.
He privately wonders if maybe he is hitting the backside. losing his edge.
Yeah, like maybe the simulator showed up at just the right time to prove him wrong. Or maybe prove him right about slowing down. It's that fear, you know? Is my peak over? Very human.
And Dominic, loyal as ever, jumps right in, tells him he's not on your backside yet.
That quiet moment and then the coyote howl they share, it really grounds all the high-tech stuff in their friendship.
Okay, let's bring in Dr. Robert Winchester. Crucial character. Former Airwolf pilot, we learned, but moved to computers. Hawke heard he washed out.
Right, washed out as a pilot, even though he was apparently close to Moffat, the guy who invented Airwolf.
And the source makes it super clear. This history breeds resentment in Winchester. Deep resentment. He feels sidelined for pilots with natural talent, like Hawke.
He even uses that baseball analogy again, but from the other side. He feels like the technical guy, the coach, replaced by the kid with the great right arm. His knowledge of the machine's design wasn't valued like raw flying skill.
And this is where things get messy and kind of dark. Diana sees this chip on his shoulder and just leans into it.
Oh, totally exploits it, tells him he's the best, has a superb mind, constantly boosting his ego.
But worse, she lies about Hawke's score in the simulator. Tells Winchester Hawke got a perfect score on ground targets when it was really 87%.
Why? Just to make him madder than sin, to make him desperate to prove himself against Hawke in the sim. Pure manipulation.
And this really gets to the mind of the machine idea, but from the human angle, Diana's playing mind games, not messing with code.
Exactly. Winchester gets completely fixated on rivalry, on ego. Wants that moment of truth between him and Stringfellow Hawke. He even tells Diana, I love you. Totally blind to what she's doing.
And her line, chilling, the machines get smarter, men never change. It's cynical, but damn effective in this context. Human flaws driving the whole thing.
So with all that personal drama simmering, the actual testing ramps up. They're using a telemetry pod out at the firm site.
Tracker.
Yeah, tracking Airwolf against targets, ground targets, moving targets. Hawke keeps stressing, and in combat, things move. It's not static.
And here's the core argument again. Winchester trusts the machine's data. Hawke trusts his gut, his experience.
The computer says Hawke only hit 87%. Missed targets. But Hawke and Dom, they insist they were right on the money.
Winchester's response is pure tech faith. The computer had the best seat in the house. And then, the kicker. The machine has no reason to lie, Mr. Hawke, unlike the pilot. Ouch.
Big ouch. It's that classic clash. Hard data versus lived experience. Hawke fires back. The machine is screwed up. I've had Airwolf in combat. I know her. You don't.
This whole dispute whose truth matters more. The machines or the pilots lead straight to Winchester throwing down the gauntlet.
Yep. Airwolf versus Airwolf, full-on dogfight in the simulator. His chance to prove his skill, validated by the machine, beats Hawke's so-called natural talent.
So that night, they prep for the big sim dogfight. Dominic's getting nervous, though. Says it's not a game anymore, worries about messing with the electronics.
Winchester's all business, shows them the prototype of the laser frame for the sim, probably for tracking, just adds to the intensity.
And the simulation starts. They're in a canyon, trading insults. Best you can do, Hawke.
You can't lose me, Hawke saying he's giving a flying lesson. It's their rivalry playing out digitally.
Intense until, bam, reality crashes the party. Yeah, alarms blare, security breach, Sector 11B. Everything changes instantly.
And this is a really interesting character moment for Winchester, despite being locked in this digital ego battle with Hawke.
His first instinct.
Protect the real Airwolf. Immediately tells them, get Airwolf out of here. Forget the sim. The real chopper's in danger.
Airwolf lifts off. Hawke flies into the real firefight 2 clicks east, handles the attackers. The machine challenge just vanished, replaced by a real-world threat.
So the aftermath. Archangel is not happy, shuts the whole project down, calls it self-indulgence, blames them for the breach.
Winchester and Diana, house arrest.
And then Hawke and Dom ID one of the attackers from a photo. Alexei Provov, top Soviet agent, known for stealing tech, ruthless, can fly anything.
The pieces click into place. The attack was definitely after Airwolf, which means
one of the 2 people in that lab, Winchester or Diana, has to be working with Provov.
And here's where Hawke makes a judgment call, based purely on human observation, not data.
Right. He gives Winchester the benefit of the doubt. Why? Because he saw Winchester's genuine reaction, that immediate instinct to save Airwolf during the attack. He trusts that over everything else.
There's even this brief moment, almost respect, between Hawke and Winchester afterwards. They admit the sim duel was intense, quite a duel, pretty doggone close.
Yeah, Winchester calls it a hell of a machine. They even talk about doing another sim, maybe a real flight in Airwolf someday once things cool down. Like their shared passion briefly overrides the conflict.
But things definitely don't cool down. Under house arrest, the truth comes out. Diana's analyzing the sim data.
And admits to Winchester she lied. He was perfect on those ground targets. She played him, used his ego.
And then she drops the real bombshell about the real Airwolf. Says it has an extensive memory that activates in combat, a complete record of every air combat.
She even quotes Moffat, the inventor. Airwolf is very much a living thing, more than you can imagine, giving it this almost mystical quality.
This leads Winchester to the big reveal, the core secret. Inside its computer, Airwolf contains its own design, the complete information as to how to recreate itself. Fantastic.
Let's just pause on that for a second. It's not just recording data. The source is saying Airwolf holds its own blueprint. The knowledge to replicate itself is inside the machine's memory.
That's the mind of the machine, right there. The machine literally contains the knowledge of its own existence.
That was Diana's real goal all along. She secretly installed an interface, some kind of backdoor into Airwolf systems.
To copy that design data. She tries to spin a story to Winchester about giving it to Archangel so he can build a new Airwolf and Winchester can fly it.
Yeah.
His dream, right?
Total manipulation. She's actually talking to Provov an escape plan south.
The escape plan kicks off. Provov shows up. Winchester finally gets it. Diana Gloriana, her real name, used his jealousy and lust. He tries to stop her.
Provov shoots him. Diana's cold. They didn't need him anyway. She grabs the tapes with Airwolf's design specs and leaves. Utter betrayal.
Winchester, though badly wounded, gets word to Archangel. Diana sold the designs, plans to build another Airwolf. Hawke takes off in the real Airwolf, chasing Provov and Diana.
Now it's real air combat, and Diana plays her final card, activates that hidden interface.
Her plan: use the backdoor access to mess with Airwolf systems, scramble their radar, maybe even destroy them electronically. She wants hers to be the only Airwolf.
And it works at first. Hawke's systems go haywire, weapons offline, turbo's dead. He tells Dom they're electronically crippled. Pull our teeth, nothing going for us. The machine is fighting back, controlled by the enemy.
But Winchester has one last play. Gets a message through Archangel. Fly cold, or pull the plug.
Hawke gets it instantly. They're into our electronics. Every last microchip. The high-tech is compromised. His solution: pure genius, low-tech brilliance.
It's Orville and Wilbur time.
Meaning, he disconnects the compromised computers, flies it completely manually, pure stick and rudder skill.
He uses basic mechanics, fires weapons manually, bypasses all the fancy stuff Diana is hacking. Human skill beats the compromised machine. He takes down Provov's helicopter.
So the mission ends back at the test range. Hawke flies the dying Winchester back in Airwolf.
And Winchester gets this final, incredibly poignant moment, actually flying the real Airwolf just for a second. I got it. I'm flying it. Then he's gone.
Tragic. The source doesn't say if they got the tapes back, but Provov and Diana are stopped. The immediate threat of a rival Airwolf built from stolen plans is gone. But Winchester paid the price for being manipulated through his own very human flaws.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive, it's really taken us through a lot. From like the peak of simulation tech to raw, real-world combat, and all these layers of human ambition, ego, betrayal, and that fundamental connection or conflict between pilot and machine.
Yeah, we saw how incredibly real simulation can seem, how much data it can capture, but also its limits, against actual chaos or just that gut feeling of an expert. Data isn't everything.
Not at all.
And we saw how powerful human emotions, ego, jealousy, wanting validation can completely warp how technology gets used or even compromised. The fanciest systems undone by basic human stuff.
And you think about today, right? Sims, trained pilots, surgeons, people running power grids. How safe are these complex digital systems from someone with a motive, messing with them from inside or out? Where's that line between a smart program and something that almost feels like it has a memory, a mind?
And that final idea the source leaves us with, Winchester's realization, Airwolf's computer are potentially holding the complete information as to how to recreate itself, its own blueprint.
Yeah. What does it really mean when our tech starts holding the instructions for its own existence, its own potential evolution? That's definitely something to chew on.